All right, so the tools we're going to need are the scope meter, a communication service monitor, some RF adapters, an RF cable, and a precision screwdriver. Okay, so right here we have a typical setup for a UV Plus controller cabinet. We have a Motorola CDM750 radio inside the cabinet interfaced to a UV Plus controller board through an RJ45 cable. And these middle potentiometers is where we are going to be adjusting to get the proper calibration tone. So the first step is to generate a calibration tone from the service monitor to the UV Plus controller board. So I'm going to go ahead and unhook the antenna and plug in the service monitor. And later on, the next step is going to be observing the tone coming through the RX test pin and checking that it's at a 1 volt peak-to-peak level. And to do that, we're going to use the scope. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my scope. And I'm going to use the cabinet's terminal block to ground it. Okay. And this goes there. So now we're going to go ahead and turn on the calibration tone. And as you can see here, the radio is receiving it, and so is the controller board. So the RX level is kind of low, and to adjust it to the proper level, we're going to be adjusting the RX gain 1 potentiometer using a precision screwdriver. Okay. So right now my level is a little low. It's at 0.8 volts peak to peak, and we want that at 1 volt peak to peak. So I'm just going to turn this RX gain pot just a little bit to get the proper signal. Okay, so now it's at 1 volt peak to peak, and that is how you adjust the RX level of a UV Plus controller board. So this next part is going to show you how to set a transmit level from a UV Plus board to the communication service monitor. So the first thing we're going to do is toggle switches 5 and 7 simultaneously. And this is going to generate a calibration tone to the service monitor. So right now my level is a little low. It's at 1.4 kilohertz. And typically we want that at 1.5 kilohertz for a narrowband system. So to adjust the level, I'm going to be tweaking the TX gain 1 potentiometer on the board. And one thing to note too is that the calibration tone will die out after 8 seconds. So we have to toggle switches 5 and 7 again. Okay, so after doing that, we're just going to do a couple turns on this pot. Okay, so right there now it's at 1.5 kilohertz. And that is how you set the TX level of a UV Plus board.